Hi friends. I'm having a really sad day today. Yesterday, my cat that I'd had for 15 years passed away. And I think that it's important to talk about the feelings that you're having and also to talk about how to process death and especially when you lose a pet because it's hard. It's really hard. It's a different hard when you lose a person. But when you lose a pet, usually there are only maybe, a couple of people who really, really loved that pet, but you really love that pet all like with your whole heart. So, so it's harder because you're kind of alone in your grief, and everybody understands it, but they don't feel the same thing. So I think it's really important to do things that commemorate your pet because they were special to you. And I think it's important to do things that recognize their death. So one of the things in our culture that we do is sometimes we'll wear black to a funeral. So I have on my pretty black dress today. And I like to process feelings through making things. Sometimes I'll write stories, sometimes I'll draw, sometimes I will do cross stitches, and sometimes I'll just make art or make crafts. And today I'm going to do that to remember my cat. So the things that you need to do this project, we have a needle and thread, and I have 3 pieces of yarn that are about 1 foot long, and I have some fleece. Fleece is really good for beginning sewing because you don't have to worry about the edges fraying. So I like to start with fleece. This will also be really good for this project because we're making a cat toy for my other cat, just to remember my cat that died. So so I cut out some fleece. It's sort of a half circle. A half circle would work if you wanted to. And I have 2 pieces that I cut just the same. Now when you're cutting fleece, you need to make sure you have really sharp scissors. So I have scissors that I use just on material, and that's what I use to cut this. But if you don't have scissors that are just for material, then you can just make sure that you have really sharp scissors. Like we have scissors that we use on cardboard boxes and things like that that are really thick, and they're not quite as sharp as the sewing scissors. But so don't use things like that. But get some really sharp scissors, or have your adult get some really sharp scissors, and you're going to start out with almost a half circle. We're going to give it just a little bit of an extra on that curve right there. Can you guess what we're making? We're going to make a little toy mouse. So we're going to do a whip stitch. So you're going to want to take it through at the very edge, and you're going to sew it around. And the way I learned to sew was you tied a knot just at the end of your thread, but I don't like doing that. I like tying it once I get it stitched through. So stitch 1 through and then tie your thread. And my thread's not cooperating, so I'm going to go through with my needle to tie it. Sometimes things don't go exactly how you want them to. And that's okay, you just have to make adjustments. So we're going to tie it again, just to make sure that knot is really secure. And I don't think I got that first knot very well, so I'm going to do it one more time. If you tie more than that, then it gets kind of like a long knot and it's all weird, so don't do that. But you can tie it 3 times and that'll be okay. Just like that, okay? And then we're going to do just a whip stitch right around. So what I'm doing is I'm putting the needle in on, let's say, the bottom, and I'm pulling it out through the top, and then I'm going just a little bit down and going through the bottom again, and through the top. And I'm going to do that all the way around, okay? So I'm going to do that real fast, and then I'll come back to you guys when I'm done with that part. But you remember, just hold it so it's flat and go through one side. I go through the bottom, come out the top, through the bottom and out the top. And we'll keep doing that. Okay, I'll see you guys back in just a few minutes. Okay guys, I'm back and I have stitched all the way around to this edge from the very beginning where we tied our knot all the way to this side. And now, can you see? I don't know if you can see. When I got to the end, this was a little bit off. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm just going to snip that. Remember, we don't have a pattern. So if you don't have a pattern, you can't mess up the pattern. So we're just going to cut it so that it's even. And then I'm going to do the same thing down along this line right here. And I'm going to stop just a little bit, about an inch away from the end. So I'm going to start whip stitching the same exact stitch. I'm going to do that all across the line, and I will be right back when I am done with this line, okay? So here I go. Okay guys, I am about an inch from the end, a little bit further than I wanted because I cut my thread a little bit too short, but I almost made it there, so I didn't start a new thread. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to take my needle and run it under the last stitch I made, and I'm going to tie it to itself. So see, it makes, let me see if I can make it a little bigger. It makes a little loop right there. Can you see it? Right there. And then you're going to put your needle right through there. Oh, make sure your thread's on it. You're going to put your thread right through there if your needle's not still on it. And you're going to pull it out the other side, and that's going to make a little knot. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make another little stitch. See if I can do it. I got just a little bit of left on my needle, not very much. Little tiny bit. No, I'm going to have to put it through. Oh, no, it did stay. Okay. And then I have that. Can you see that little loop? And I'm actually going to put my needle through it backwards because I don't have that much thread left. Okay. So that's tied it off. Got good secure knots on either end. Okay. Now we're going to work on the tail. So remember those three pieces of yarn that were about a foot long, so 12 inches, and they can be any color. You don't have to make a blue mouse. That's what I had, so I made a blue mouse. And if you don't have fleece, you can make it out of a different material. Just make sure that you are allowed to use the material first. So I made a little, actually, I think I want to loop it. Since I'm going to stitch it in, I'm going to take this knot out because I'm going to stitch it in, so I want to make a loop and then I can stitch the loop. That'll be a good idea. Yep, if I can get the knot out. So yeah, I would love to hear some of the things that you like to do to remember your pets. So I'm going to make a little loop at the top. And then I'm going to tie it. And if you aren't good at tying knots, it's okay. You can ask your adult to tie a knot for you, and they can help you with that. And then you can do the rest of it. We all need to help each other sometimes. And it's important to know when you need to ask for help. I might need to ask for help on my knot. It's not turning out very well. There we go. Okay. So I've got a knot and I've got a loop on the end, so I can sew that in and it'll be real secure. And then I'm going to braid these. Do you know how to braid? I bet some of you do, but maybe some of you don't. So I'm going to try to do this on the screen. Okay, so you take your 3 strands and you're going to take this one and put it over top of the middle one, and then the middle one becomes the one that goes over here. And then you're going to switch, and you're going to take this one and put it over top of the middle one. And then you're going to switch. And you just keep putting the side over the middle one, and you get this really pretty braid. And my braids are usually really, really tight. I don't know why, but I have always made my braids really, really tight. But yours might come a little bit looser, and that's okay too. And it's easier, like I said, if you have a little bit of help. So right now, I could use some help for somebody to hold the end for me, because it's a lot easier if you have somebody to hold the end. But I don't have anybody here right now with me. But the other thing that you can do is you can remember that loop I made? You can find something and put the loop over it, and that can secure it. Oh, that one's not, the loop's not quite big enough to go around that. Let's take the lid off and see. That might work. I think it's gonna make it. Oh, there we go. So I got it. So now I can braid more easily. But you guys can't see it, so let's try it up here. I'll try to do it sideways. Okay, that way. We're gonna keep braiding all the way down. Yeah, you still can't see it. There we go. Maybe take it over here. Remember, cross over the middle one. Okay. This is mostly off screen, so I'm going to go ahead and do another jump, and I will see you guys back in just a moment when we are braided. Okay, and I'm back, and I am at the bottom of my braid. I told you I braid tight, and I'm going to tie this off. So I'm going to wrap it around my finger, and I'm going to push the ends through and do a little knot at the bottom. And then I'm going to just snip it so that these pieces at the end are all the same. And that's got like a nice little frill at the end, a little tassel. Okay, so now I need to get some more thread. Can you see my thread? It's hard to see. Okay, that's probably too short too, but I don't like to get long thread, because if you have really long thread, then it knots up. So I would rather have short thread and have to get more thread than have to untie a knot. So now what we're going to do on sewing, when you sew something, typically you sew it on what is going to be the inside. So this is inside out right now, okay? So we're going to take this and we're going to put it on the inside, but it's really on the outside right now. And we're just going to stitch it in. And when I'm at the edge, I can stitch through where all these stitches are. I can stitch through just both of them. But if I want to make it more secure, I can take it and I can stitch it through just one of the sides. But you don't want to you want to make sure that you don't stitch it through both sides over here, because then it'll be hard to open and flip over. So I'm going to just stitch it right here. Make sure the knot is on the inside. There's a husky visiting me outside. We have a husky dog that lives in our neighborhood, and she comes over and visits sometime. And usually, because she's a husky and she has really thick fur, she's hot, and so we'll find her laying down in our yard a lot when it's summer outside. But right now, remember, it's cold here, so it's snowing, and we've got lots of snow in the ground, and so she's having a great time. She thinks the snow is absolutely fantastic, and she has been so active and hyper and just excited to be alive. And I don't know what she's doing right now, but it's something with our bamboo bush. Bamboo bush? It's not a tree. Plant? We have a bamboo thing. It's more like river cane, but river cane is a type of bamboo. And I'm not sure what the difference is, so I just call it bamboo. So I'm stitching it in. Yep, there she goes. She's leaving the house now. Well, not inside the house, you know, outside on our porch. Now, when you give this to your pet, because it is a homemade toy, you need to make sure you're with your pet when they're playing with it, just in case they would accidentally tear it apart. You don't want them to get sick by trying to eat the things that are, like if they pulled off the tail and they ate this, that could hurt their intestines. So you need to make sure that you are with them when they're playing with this, just to make sure they can't get hurt with it. But I think they'll like it, and I think they'll have fun with it, and I think you're gonna do a great job making it. Okay, that's on pretty secure. I've got it in there, and I'm going to again just make a stitch through all the way through, and this time I've got a longer thread. Get out of there, tail, you're in the way. Okay, see how I have a loop? I'm going to make my needle jump through the loop, and that's going to make a knot. And then I'm going to do it again. This time I'm going to make it jump through twice. So I've got a loop, and I'm going to make my needle jump through the loop, and that made another loop, and I'm going to make my needle jump through that one. That's got a big secure knot. Okay, we're going to cut that. Now, typically, I would suggest that you use, I'm going to cut all these little threads. You don't have to. They're just in my way. Typically, I would suggest that you use some cotton batting to stuff this, but you can really use whatever you have around. So today, I'm going to use, if I can get into them, I have cotton balls, and that's soft and it'll make a nice stuffing. But you can also get, you know, the crinkly tissue paper. You can put that in here. You can stuff it with just about anything that you want to stuff it with. But before we stuff it, we have to remember this is the inside. The inside is on the outside, and we have to turn it around. And when you turn it around, you want to make sure that your tail stays on the outside, that it is poking out of that hole that we left. That should be okay. I'm going to use my pinky finger. You guys probably have smaller fingers so you can get it. And it's not really shaped like a mouse, but it's kind of shaped like a mouse. See, this is its little nose, and its back, and its tail. I'm going to cut this little end off too. I tried braiding it in, but it's kind of sticking out a little. When you're cutting it though, be careful that you don't cut your whole braid, because that would be bad. Okay, and then remember we got that little hole, and I'm just going to take my cotton balls, and I'm going to stuff it in there. And then if you have some dried catnip, that would be a good thing to stick in there, because that would make them really interested. My cats get really excited when they get some catnip. That smells really good to them. And that's 2 cotton balls. How many do you think it'll take to stuff it? That's 3 cotton balls. So yeah, I've been really sad about my cat, and so this helps to make me a little bit not happier, but it's a way to remember. So if you're feeling sad, if you've lost a pet, or if you're just feeling sad for other reasons, this is a good way to remember your cats, and to just make your cats happy. I think that was 5. I think that was 5, and it's pretty stuffed now. But if you're feeling sad, definitely find an adult to talk to them about your sadness. You can talk to your parents or maybe your grandparents. If if they can't talk, you can talk to your teacher or your counselor at school. But definitely if you're feeling sad, you can find an adult and talk to them about it, because I'm sure that they'll have other good ways to help you to feel better. Okay, now we're going to stitch up this hole. Remember, we got this hole. And so I'm going to put my needle in again. Remember, I don't put knots at the end of my thread, but if you do it that way, that's fine. And I'm going to tie that, and I'm going to tie it again. Okay. And then I'm going to do my whip stitch again. And this one, the other one, if you didn't have your stitches really close together, it's okay. You can fix that later. But on this one, you really need to have your stitches really close together, okay? So we're going to stitch it and try not to grab the stuffing while you're stitching. Stitch. 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 We'll probably get another cat eventually. Maybe a kitten. Probably in the spring, because in the spring the animal shelters have lots and lots of kittens. Spring or early summer. And they need a good home. The cat, my cat Blackie, who I'm making this for, he'll have fun with this. We got him when we were looking the last time for a kitten. He was at my veterinarian's office. He had an owner that couldn't take care of him anymore, and he had gotten fleas really, really bad. And so she nursed him back to health. She wasn't sure he was going to make it, but he did. And he is just the neatest cat. He's not a Manx cat, but he doesn't have a tail because he had to have his tail removed. And he's black, except he's got a little patch of white right here. And he's a very funny cat. My other cat was an orange cat. And he was very, very busy. He liked to, when he was a kitten, we had him when he was a kitten. And when he was a kitten, he would move around so fast I couldn't even take a picture of him. I would take pictures and they would all be just blurs because he was moving around so fast. But he got to be an old cat. And like happens sometimes with pets, he passed away. And that can be a really sad time. But there are things that we can do to remember them. I have ornaments on my Christmas tree that help me to remember my old pets. And I have pictures that I can look at. And I can talk to my family about them when I'm remembering them. And I think this will be a fun way to remember him too, making something that my other cat would like. My cat that I had when I was younger, she liked watching a particular movie. Every time this movie came on, she would come in and she would sit with us and she would watch it. So now every time I watch that movie, I think about her. So there are things that you can do to help you remember them. And this is just one of them. Kind of looks like a blue green bean. But it's supposed to be a little mouse, and it was just a fun little project. And like I said, you can put catnip inside. But I have some catnip spray, and I'm going to spray it and see if my cat likes that. That way I can just spray it every once in a while, and he'll be interested in it again. Well, I hope that you have liked this video. I hope that if you have something sad that's happened in your life, that you can use crafting or art and help to make that hurt just a little bit better, help to remember the people that you love and the pets that you love. And I hope that you reach out to your grown-up and you talk to them about it too. And if you are a grown-up, I hope you reach out to your people and that you're seeking comfort from them. If you did like this video, I would love it if you would give me a thumbs up, and if you want to know more about other crafts that we can do in happier times, then subscribe to my channel. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram, and I share a lot more stuff that my family is up to then. So we will see you guys later, and have a great day.